Hey guys, I'm Shaddai. Welcome to what I'm going to call StarCraft Hold the Door Episode 1. Specifically, a series dedicated to scouting and holding cheeses and all-ins. Something I've been spoken to about several times, but have not received a replay with that specific question until now. We're going to look at this replay from JoeStar, Gold Protoss versus a Platinum opponent. And normally under replay review, I would be looking at like build orders, I'd be looking at probe production, basically your execution of the early game. But what we're going to look at now, we're going to shift that focus to the scout and react, the mental checklist of this is what I see, what do I need to do about it? So, what I've said before in my Breaking the Barrier series is you want to be able to send a probe across the map, more or less to see if they have a natural base. This is especially important versus Zerg, but versus Terran is another thing as well. So, versus Terran, generally by 150 is where they'll have their CC starting, or there will at least be an SCV in the natural for that to start. Personally in Diamond League, mine's on a gas first, Reaper expand, my natural comes down at 1 minute 50. Give or take. So, getting here a little bit early to scout for that natural. So he's going to hang out for a second. He sees no SCV coming down to build this, so he's like, okay, let me just poke up into the main base. Convenient timing, lifting his barracks just in time. Now, the vision of this probe doesn't quite get close enough to see the other gas. This hurts. This is like physically painful when you were so close to scouting something and didn't quite get there. Like literally a pixel off of seeing there's a gas taken here. So this probe, if he scouts this second gas, you know there are shenanigans afoot. You know there's going to be something happening to where you have to react very, very decisively. You've already seen there's 2 barracks. You see an add-on building. It's important to click on that and see what it is. But it's also important to just keep your probe mobile. You want to be sure building your stuff on time. Getting over here, getting your gas started, getting your second pylon started, on time. In order to not mess up your macro, but he's just going to come and like park his probe over here in the corner, and he's going to lose it before he gets a second scout off. So, when you scout, there's no natural. You see there's 2 barracks, that means there's probably not going to be a natural. But you need to verify that. So you send your probe around the base, you just kind of like hold down the shift key and just left click in a circle here. And then go back home, and you build your pylon, you build your cybernetics core, you've already got your gate on the way. Okay, cool. You are finishing your cybernetics core now. You're going to be able to start whip gate, your units, mothership core, whatever. But by getting a full scout, you say, okay, so he's got 2 gases. Step 2 is, where's the factory going to be? If he builds the factory in his main, you pretty much are okay. But if he doesn't build the factory in his main, you can scout around here. Just keep scouting, just keep scouting, just keep scouting, and see whether or not he's building it. Because if you see this factory come down, if your probe's like over here when that marine pops, it's got to run you down. So you can get over here and see, okay, factory's at home. Cool, so that's step 2. Is identifying where the factory is going to be, because if it's 2 gases, there will be a factory. It will be a factory, and may or may not be a starport, but factory is guaranteed. It's some kind of tech play. So, your response when you scout that factory, or you scout 2 gases, whatever, you just get a fast robotics facility, and say, okay, so I'm being all in, and you've got a little bit of time to prepare. See, it's not quite 3 minutes. You get over here, you get in his base. We're going to say that by 2:20 you can identify this is a 1 base build, because your probe is already kicked over here, didn't quite see the second gas. So by 2:20 you say, okay, I'm about to get 1 base all in. So from here you have a couple of choices. You can either go Stargate or you can go Robotics Facility. I don't particularly like Twilight Councils because you're about to be hit with a tech all-in, and you're going to be trying to hold it with nothing but gateway units with an upgrade. So, not ideal. I mean, it can work, but I feel like Robo and Stargate are both better answers. So, Stargate works by you make an Oracle and you send it straight across the map and you kill all his SCVs, and when you kill whatever he has at the front of your base, it's over. He just has no production, he has no income, so he can't really kill you if he has no economy to build units. So that's step one. And then you can bring it back home and defend with it after you've got in there and kill a bunch of workers, or find out you can't kill workers because he built a turret. Oh well, might as well bring it home for the defense. You can build a couple void rays to kill his siege tanks or any turrets or whatever he has, bunkers, etc. So from there, you can just break out with like adepts and Stargate units. The other option is robotics facility, and is my personal preference because you don't know if it would be like a cyclone all in or a tank push. So I feel like a robotics facility is a little bit more of a solid all-around response. I feel like it's like a better toolkit to respond to a lot of the one-base stuff Terran's bringing out, because you don't know if there's going to be liberators, medevacs, mines, whatever. And having this constant detection from an observer, the ground pound of an immortal, or the ability to send units across the map in a warp prism to harass and counter damage, just make him keep army at home, is very useful. So you'll be starting a mothership core, you'll be starting a robotics facility. Getting a mothership core for the overcharge is also awesome to buy time, because you're going to be buying time. And notice I don't have a production tab right now. It's actually by design, because I don't want to look at what your opponent's doing. I want to look at just what you're doing. So you're getting a mothership core now, and you're going to be getting a robotics facility, which is great. Getting your next 2 gateways in about 10 seconds is ideal. Building a second adept. So about 3:20 you do want to start your next 2 gateways, because that's about going to line up with this warp gate research finishing. So that's the only thing I'm going to nitpick right now, is you need 2 more gateways right now. So you're about to send 2 adepts across the map. They're going to scout. This is excellent. So you get over here, you verify there's still no CC. And so by this point, you really need to throw down extra gateways, because you don't know for sure it's a 1 base all in until you scout the absence of a second base. What you can scout in the main base says, okay, he's opening 2 gas, so I'm at least getting pressured, or maybe it's like a mech opener or something like that. Well, you get over here and you see there is no natural base over here. It's like, okay, I need gateways yesterday. So, already building another pylon, which is great. Still building some probes, it's fine. But you need production. You need gateways. So, you're going to see this money ramp up quite a bit. And your building that you put down is a robotics bay. Having Colossus or Disruptors versus Bio is really good, but not if it's 1 base Bio. You're not going to have enough time for this tech to matter, because you're about to get attacked, like, in a minute and a half. So, you even identify that with your observer that's going to fly over the army. But at 4 minutes, when you get over here, you see no natural. Okay, I need gateways now. You just kind of stop building probes and just get your gateway count. You're going to go up to 8 gateways. That's right, a full-on 8 gates, because you're going to be cutting probes at some point in the near future to use those gateways. And with 2 base income, you can support 8 gateways of units. Now, when you're building immortals, you can't, but at the same time, you're going to need just units to break out of this. You get like a couple or 3 immortals. A couple immortals, I guess, is enough. I prefer 3, because then you can just literally one-shot a tank walking up to it. But I honestly would say, in this particular case, scouting it this early, that you really need gateway production. And obviously, you've got enough minerals right here for another 3 gateways. It'll be 4 gateways when that hits 600 minerals. So you'll have a lot more production. Going up to 6 gates is fine, but the point is you stay on 3 gates for a very extended period of time. And at this moment, you scout it with your observer. And even now you don't start making gateways. It's like, oh no, I'm basically dead. So let's just stay on these 3 gates for quite a while, and you're chronoing your gateway so you can whip in faster, which is not horrible, but you're not building gateways. And your robotics bay is just finishing. So see, your robotics bay is done as this stuff gets here. So okay, if you wanted to go into a disruptor, I can see that. It takes 36 seconds to build a disruptor. A Colossus takes almost a minute to build. And then it's kind of worthless without an upgrade that has a 100-second research time. and costs 200, 200. You don't have the gas income for this. At this point, if you just had built those gateways at 4 minutes, you could have already warped in around and have 3 times the army supply that you do right now. At which time you could just literally march down this ramp and kill these things. Because if you have that much army supply, 2 tanks and 11 marines are not going to kill you, because you'll have more adepts than he has marines, plus a stalker, plus an immortal if you made one earlier. So you just break his push right here and counter across the map. So the follow-up to this is literally just a counterattack. So when you have all those units, then you just warp in and you counter. Now, let's assume that you didn't know for sure it was coming. And so he's going to have a bunch of armies set up here. You have this observer to see what his army looks like. It looks like you may have F2'd here, but then you just push that guy right back out. No, you couldn't have F2'd because you would have grabbed this guy. That's still indicating a 1 base build. So yeah, you still know there's no CC. So he's building a barracks to provide high ground vision. At this point, you can still break it, because he has tanks. He has 3 tanks and he has just a few marines. So what you end up having to do is just wait for a bunch of warp ins. Unfortunately, you got supply capped here, so you can't even warp in on your 3 gates. But this is where the macro becomes such a big deal, because you have to have gateways for production. You have to have pylons available so you can spend your money, which at this point is pretty legit. That's enough money for 12 adepts to warp in. Pretty substantial, and with 12 more adepts, you actually could shade on top of this and break it right now. Just shade on right next to the tanks. Tanks can't really fire on you, and if they do, they're doing friendly fire damage to the marines. So you just literally shade 12 adepts onto this, and move the rest of your army, and when the shade completes, the tank's AI will focus on whatever's up here, and then everything here just pretty much dies. And you still break out. He's sending a couple marines across the map. At this moment, his production is 4 marines and a siege tank per production cycle. That's it. You have the ability to produce off 8 gateways every 20-ish seconds. So by not having additional gateways, you're going to be in a really tough spot to hold this. And eventually your production gets to where you can't actually fight it. You just don't have gateways. And you're warping in again, but even after making another immortal and warping in, you have 1,000 minerals and almost 400 gas. So you need more immortals, you need more units. And so what happens is you're going to get in worse and worse of a spot when he is pushing across the map with tanks and marines. So you got to warp in units, and then he fortunately took down that for you, so it makes it a little bit easier. He actually makes a blunder, which you can really capitalize on if you are with enough army supply. And see, he actually moves these 2 tanks forward, and he just like sacrifices them for you. You lose a little bit of army, but you picked off some tanks. You overcharge this as you push in, and you can take those tanks down a lot faster. So that was really good. Breaking that little bit was really good. But at this point, you don't have the production, and you're still only building the production because you realized, oh, I have a lot of money. So you're not able to break this right now. You still don't have enough army. Just think about if you had finished these gateways at like 5 minutes. Gateways have a 46-second build time, so you drop them at 4 minutes when you scout. Oh, he's still on 1 base. He's finished at 4 minutes 46 seconds. They have about a 10-second morph time, which is more or less eternity when you're in a hurry. But then you warp in units at 5 minutes. And then 2 minutes later, that's another 5 warp ins. Give or take, depending on the units. But it's about 5 warp ins. And so if you're building pylons, you have a tremendous 2-base army that shreks literally everything. So this just ultimately comes down to getting production fast enough. You get over there, you scout the 2 gases, you can build your robo facility or Stargate, whatever, and start figuring out, okay, now I'm starting to get basically what I need. What's the next step? More gateways. Okay, so I actually see his push coming. Well, it's too late now, because if you scouted the fact at 4 minutes that it was still a 1 base all in. So you just build a ton of gateways and warp in units and just shade on top of his army. So a little bit cut and dried today. It's just not having the mental checklist of responding. So getting extra gateways, building immortals, building extra pylons, a couple more pylons in your natural, shading units on top of the army after you get a few warp ins, and it just breaks this. It gets a lot harder if there are medevacs and liberators and stem Terran player wasn't really spending his money either. He could have done a lot better of a job of this, but because of how simple this attack was, you very easily break out of this. It's not going to be that easy every time, and there's going to be little things that will be different between games, and that's where this series comes in, is because I want to be able to teach you what to look for, how to look for it, by when to look for it, and this varies between leagues, obviously, but that's what replays are for, because I can look at it and we can get a general idea between the leagues what this looks like at different levels as they get better and better at executing these all-ins. So that is it for today. Thanks for hanging out. I am Shir Shaddai. Be sure to click the subscribe button if you enjoy the channel, if you want to see more content like this coming forward. Be sure to check out my social media links down below. If you are helped by this video, be sure to leave a comment below as well. And if you want to send me replays, send them to shirshaddai2@gmail.com. The link is down below for that as well. Thanks and have an awesome day.